Teacher Wenny, and welcome to Quarter 4, Lesson 5 of English 9 Valenzuela Live. I'm so glad to see you all today. Are you ready to learn another fun-filled English lesson? That's great. First, allow me to present to you our most essential learning competency for this morning, and that is react to lay value judgment on critical issues that demand sound analysis and call for prompt actions. Specifically, you are expected to judge the relevance and worth of the ideas presented, identify personal challenges one commonly experienced, identify a point raised in a reading material, and relate the text content to particular social issues, concerns, or dispositions in real life. We will be using Quarter 4, Lesson 5, entitled React to Lay Value Judgment on Critical Issues that Demand Sound Analysis and Call for Prompt Actions, written by Ma'am Christina O'Dama of Maysan National High School. I think we're all set. Let's begin. The first activity for this morning is called This or That. Now, how do we play this game? You have to choose between two options even if you do not like either of them. Without any explanation, please type in your answers in our comment box below and you'll only be given a few seconds to key them in. Take note, you can't answer both. You only have to choose one. Are you ready? Let's begin. Number 1. Do you love the natural light of the day or the glow of moon and stars at night? Number 2. Do you like a less expensive motorcycle or an extravagant four-wheel vehicle? Number 3. Which do you prefer? The carbon dioxide in your favorite soda or a well-balanced and sweet milky beverage with a slight twist of boba pearls? Number 4. In a movie house, would you rather laugh out loud or be scared to death? Number 5. Do you love dancing or singing? Number 6. Which do you feel more comfortable wearing? A stretchy, light, and inexpensive t-shirt or a long-sleeve sweater that keeps you warm? Number 7. In your online classes, which will you choose? Use a computer or use a cell phone? Number 8. Which is more appealing to you? Gold or silver? Number 9. Would you rather have money or fame? And for the last number, would you rather have a sound mind or a good heart? Do you find the activity difficult? Have you ever had to choose between two things? Did you make the right choice or not? I'm thinking, why are the simplest decisions are so difficult to make? And it seems that making choices should be a snap. Making even the simplest commitment, whether it's to drink soda, tea, or putting on those sweaters you haven't worn in a while, is tough. I understand that it is really challenging to make decisions at times because we have to think through a lot. I mean, sometimes countless things to consider. Good news, this morning Our story is about a woman who realizes that good decision making is very important in life. But before that, let's get to know the author of the story, The Last Lift by Mr. O. Henry. Let us watch this short video clip about his biography. So, O. Henry was an American writer whose short stories are known for wit, wordplay, and clever twist endings. His legacy includes a prestigious annual prize named after him, an opera, elementary schools in Greensboro, North Carolina, and the 1986 Indian anthology television series, which adapted several of Henry's short stories as episodes, including The Last Leaf. The Last Leaf is a short story published in 1907 in his collection, The Trimmed Lamp and Other Stories. The story is set in Greenwich Village, New York City, during a pneumonia epidemic in the early 1900s. O. Henry chose Greenwich Village in Manhattan because it was, as it still is, an art colony. He needed a setting where there would be a lot of painters. Now let's talk about the characters. The characters in the story are, first we have Johnsy. Johnsy, a nickname for Joanna, is a young painter from California who falls ill with pneumonia. With the sickness and pain, she becomes fatalistic and believes she will die when the last leaf drops from the ivy vine she sees out of her window. Next, we have Sue. Sue is Johnsy's roommate, and she takes care of Johnsy during her illness. Sue is an artist and earns a living by drawing illustrations for magazines. Furman. Furman is an old painter who lives in the basement apartment of the building where Johnsy and Sue live in. He is over 60 years old, and he is small and weak and has a long gray beard. All his life, he has spoken of painting a masterpiece, but he has never started work on it. Finally, the doctor. The doctor comes to Johnsy's bedside to assess her condition. He is pessimistic about her chances of survival, as he concedes that a patient's will to continue living is integral to their survival. Are you excited to know their stories? Here is the short video clip of the story The Last Leaf by O. Henry.
Here is the summary of the short story, The Last Leaf by O. Henry. Sue and Johnsy were two young artists who shared a flat. Sometime in November, Johnsy fell sick with pneumonia. She did not seem to get better. She would lie in bed for hours staring at nothing. Sue was worried about her. She called the doctor. Though the doctor came every day, Johnsy did not get better. The doctor then took Sue aside and asked her if Johnsy had something that was worrying her. His diagnosis was that Johnsy had lost the will to live. He further stated that medicines alone would not help Johnsy until she had made up her mind to live. Sue tried different things to help Johnsy. She talked about clothes and fashion, but Johnsy did not reply. She brought her drawing board to Johnsy's room. She whistled while she painted to distract Johnsy. It was at this time that Sue noticed Johnsy whispering to herself. She quickly went to Johnsy's side. Johnsy was looking out of the window and counting backwards from 12. She stopped at 7. Sue looked out of the window and saw a creeper. There was a strong wind and the creeper was shedding its leaves. Sue anxiously asked Johnsy what the matter was. Johnsy whispered that the leaves of the creeper were falling. 3 days ago, she said there were hundreds of leaves and now there were only 5 left. Johnsy proclaimed that she would die when the last leaf fell. Sue told her to stop talking nonsense and went to get a bowl of soup for Johnsy. Johnsy, however, refused the soup. She told Sue that since she was going to die, eating did not matter to her anymore. She only wanted to see the last leaf fall so she could die in peace. Now, Sue needed the light to finish the painting so she could sell it for some money. So she begged Johnsy to not look at the leaf while she was painting. Johnsy agreed, but asked Sue to finish the painting quickly. Sue's painting was about an old miner. For her model, she had chosen Behrman. Behrman was a 60-year-old painter who lived in the same building. Behrman's dream was to paint a masterpiece. This dream, however, had eluded him so far. Sue went downstairs to talk to Behrman. She told him all about her worries for Johnsy. Behrman, indignant, came upstairs with Sue to talk to Johnsy. Johnsy, however, had fallen asleep. Sue went to the window. There was only one leaf remaining on the creeper. It looked like it would fall soon. The next morning, Johnsy wanted to see the last leaf. Sue was scared, but on opening the curtains, she found the leaf still standing there. Sue exclaimed that the leaf looked strong and healthy. She thought that it was a sign that Johnsy would recover. Johnsy disagreed. That day, she waited for the leaf to fall. But the leaf remained strong despite the storm raging outside. Johnsy stared at the leaf all day. Finally, in the evening, she called Sue. She told Sue that she had been depressed and uncooperative while Sue had been taking such good care of her. The last leaf made her realize that she had been selfish and she did not want to die. Sue hugged Johnsy and brought her soup. Next afternoon, the doctor came and examined Johnsy. He proclaimed that Johnsy had found a will to live. He was confident she would recover soon. The doctor then told them that he was going downstairs to check on Behrman. Behrman was suffering from pneumonia and the prognosis wasn't so good. The next morning, Sue came to Johnsy's bed and told her that Behrman had passed away. He had been out in the stormy night. The janitor had found him shivering in his bed with wet clothes and brushes and paint strewn all over his bed. Sue then pointed out the last leaf to Johnsy. It still looked strong and healthy. Behrman had sacrificed his life to go out into the storm and paint the leaf onto the creeper. And it was his masterpiece. So the story, The Last Leaf, centers around the last leaf that is left on the ivy creeper. Johnsy connects her lifespan to the falling of the last leaf. She believes that she will die when the last leaf falls. The painter, Behrman, paints a realistic last leaf onto the creeper to give hope to Johnsy and provide her with the will to live. Therefore, the last leaf plays a vital role in the story. On the one hand, it is linked with Johnsy's illness, while on the other, it relates to an individual's capacity for sacrifice and their commitment to life. Thank you.
That story was very inspiring. Now, let's delve deeper into it. First, let's discuss the themes of the text. The life-affirming significance of art is one of the central themes in the last leaf. Art, as a subject, arises early in the story when the narrator discusses how Greenwich Village is a mecca for artists, seeking cheap apartments with good light and architectural character. And O. Henry expands on the theme with a cast of characters who all wish to become artists of renown. Also, early in the story, Sue becomes aware of Johnsy's fancy. She believes that her fate is somehow tied to the fate of the Ivy Leaves, and she is certain that her death will result as a consequence of the last leaf falling. In this way, Johnsy's superstition becomes another central theme. Sue and Berman dismiss Johnsy's illogical and romantic attachment to the dying ivy vine as the fancy of someone whose mind has become weakened by illness. However, Johnsy's ambiguous feelings toward the ivy vine turn out to be justified when, at the end of the story, Sue and Johnsy learn that Berman died after contracting pneumonia while painting the last leaf. Therefore, the last leaf falling did precipitate a death. Next, willpower emerges as another major theme of the text. It is when the doctor delivers his grim prognosis, he believes Johnsy's chances of survival are slim because she has lost the will to live. He goes on to remark how medical intervention is only effective when a patient uses the medicine in combination with a will to recover. Though she wishes to die, Johnsy's willpower is nonetheless strong. She sets her will toward the goal of dying when the last leaf falls. Through painting the fake leaf, Berman is able to exploit Johnsy's will and use it against her. For as long as she believes there is one leaf left, she will continue to live while her body simultaneously fights the infection. Fate. The unfolding of events beyond a person's control. That is another theme of the story. Because of her pessimism and superstition, Johnsy believes her fate is tied to the ivy leaves, which implies that supernatural forces beyond her control have determined her imminent death. The doctor pushes back against this notion, believing that a patient's fate is determined not by forces beyond their control, but by their individual will to recover. Fate arises in relation to Berman as well, as he speaks often about how he is fated to paint a great masterpiece, which he spends his life avoiding. Ultimately, fate reveals itself as significant when Johnsy learns that Berman met his fate by painting the last leaf, and that her fate and his were intimately entwined. Also, the story is about the ability to rise above self-doubts and stay hopeful. Johnsy falls sick and sinks into despair about her chances of survival. She loses all hope to achieve her dreams of visiting Italy. However, it is Sue who remains hopeful for both of them. She is the beacon of light for her friend. Berman, having struggled as an artist, is depressed that he might never make his singular art piece. However, he ends making a truly inspirational one. This example also highlights that hope is what keeps dreams alive. If one loses all hope of getting better and accomplishing one's goals, then it is like giving up without trying. Hope is what helped Johnsy reappear from the darkness of doubt and depression, and hope is what helped Berman achieve immoral greatness through his art. Every falling leaf may suggest tough times, but as long as the last leaf stays standing, there is still hope. Next, another theme of the story is the friendship between Sue and Johnsy. They both love their art and share similar passions. When Johnsy falls ill, Sue manages all her care. She prepares her food and arranges for her treatment. When Johnsy falls into despair and depression, it is Sue who encourages her to stay optimistic. In the end, it is Sue who informs Berman about Johnsy's mental conflict. Finally, sacrifice. Berman's true masterpiece ends up being a selfless sacrifice to help Johnsy survive and get better. His painting is a symbol of hope and inspiration because he not only does something for another person, but ends up giving the biggest sacrifice for it. Similarly, Sue is also willing to sacrifice her time and wishes for her friend. She is willing to devote all her energy in her care and even support her emotionally and financially when it will be easier for her to not get too involved. They both prove that sometimes love and compassion can be more valuable than even the most valuable of material possessions. Now let's talk about the conflict. The conflict in the story is when pneumonia attacked and touched Johnsy. It made her sad, hopeless, and pessimistic and decided to rely her own life and death to those falling leaves, the last leaf. This conflict is categorized as man versus self because Johnsy easily gives up and loses hope and doesn't believe that she could survive, even though there are a lot of good things to look up in her life, like her friends who always believe in her. The tone of the story is serious. It discusses about life and how important our lives are. Also, it's about sacrificing. We should not give up in every problem. We need to be optimistic in life. Besides, life is wonderful. The mood is largely pessimistic, though it ends on a heartwarming note. One may be sad, but at the same time amazed. Sad because of what happened to Johnsy and how it affected her in her everyday life, and amazed because at first there was no clue that the last leaf was painted by Berman, but a little bit of sadness again because he sacrificed his own life. The type of point of view in this story is in third person because the narrator just tells the story and the narrator just narrates it using the words or the keywords he or she. He knows the story, the characters, experiences, and flow or plot. Now, let's have the symbolism. The vine leaves around which the story revolves are a symbol of life. At the beginning of the story, Johnsy considers the rapidly falling leaves as ominous predictors of her own death. And she comes to believe that she will die when the last leaf falls. When the last leaf remains attached in spite of fierce winds and persistent rain, Johnsy interprets the leaf to be a sign that she ought to embrace her life, as it is sinful to want to die. Ultimately, the loss of the vine leaves does prove to be symbolically connected to a loss of life. But rather than Johnsy, it is Berman, who loses his life after having painted the last leaf. The chicken broth that Sue offers Johnsy is a symbol of health. Though Johnsy initially refuses to drink the broth Sue warms for her, later in the story, Johnsy asks that Sue brings her some broth as well as milk with port wine. With these requests, it is clear that Johnsy has come over to Sue's side and will now commit herself to overcoming her illness. The last leaf is the symbol of hope. That empowers a person for having the strength to fight death. So what are the takeaways of this story? First, never lose hope. When the world says give up, hope whispers, try it one more time. There are times in life when we feel hopeless, That is due to some situations that may have occurred or disappointments we may have encountered. Life is tough sometimes, and all we can do is to move forward. The point is not to lose hope in life. We must keep in mind that these experiences help us grow, and currently, what you are experiencing is not a permanent situation, but a temporary state of mind or being. When things don't go our way, remember to never lose hope. The future is unknown, and instead of feeling fear of the unknown, try to embrace it. Look forward to what lies ahead, not what is left behind. Also, we must be wise in decision making. Not one day goes by where we do not have to make a decision. Some decisions are completely innate and require very, very little thought. I believe we are in full control of our choices and that our actions in response to what fate offers us matter. We are here to learn lessons, and the hard decisions we have to make are what help us grow as humans. Our choices are what put opportunities in front of us, but our destiny is ultimately determined by our decisions. Always remember, we always choose to be happy. It depends on us whether we become losers or winners. Let's face them. Personal challenges like peer pressure, stress, envy, and depression will get on our nerves, yes. But as what Taylor Swift says, shake them off. Now this time, this has been a trending video in YouTube, actually in America's Got Talent like 2 weeks ago. I just want to show you how Jane, the Nightbird, inspired the world through her performance on stage. Please watch this.
My name's Jane. When I sing, I go by...
Wonderful song and beautiful message from Nightbird. As what she says, you can't wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy. There are 101 ways to live life to the fullest. We can't wait until tomorrow, next month, or even the next century to finally decide to feel wonderful. It's okay. The real purpose of life is to be happy. Time flies really fast. Now it is time for you to ask questions. As you already know, you may type in your questions in the comment box below, and I will be very willing to answer them. You'll be given a minute to throw your queries, and our moderator will collate all your questions and will choose at least 3 of them to be addressed here live, and the rest of the questions will be sent to your class discussion teachers, and they'll be the ones to answer them. So, your timer starts now. The first question is from a student from Dalandana National High School. And the question is, do you think the ending of the story is good? Yeah, good question. I believe the ending of the story is quite interesting because it is only at the end does the reader fully realize the sacrifice that Berman has made. And as what I've mentioned earlier, O. Henry is famous for surprise endings or twists in his stories. In the last leaf, Johnson seems to be dying of pneumonia when the story begins, but it is Mr. Berman who dies in the end while Johnson survives. The next question is from a student from Maysa National High School. And the question is, what genre or literary form is The Last Leaf? The Last Leaf is an ironic and sentimental short story. A short story is a genre of fiction that is technically fewer than 30,000 words and most often comes in under 10,000 words. It usually has fewer characters and a less complicated plot than a novel. It is designed to be read in one sitting. It is a sentimental tale because an older man risks his own life and ends up dying to save the life of a younger woman. I think that's it. I hope you will use what you've just learned today as you continue your journey in learning the English language. Now, it is time to check the activities in your learning packet. You will see what's more, where you will read the story of The Last Leaf. You will answer the questions that follow. Next is what I know, followed by what I can do, and finally the assessment. Before we end, I would like to thank our technical support teacher, Mr. James Leonorio, for helping us technically, and to our teacher moderator. Thank you to your contributions in making this learning engagement successful. This has been Teacher Wenny, and see you again next time for another episode of Virtual English Class, only here at Valenzuela Live, where distance is never a hindrance in learning. Stay home, stay safe, and keep on learning. Bye!